What's going on, Dunce's family? We are back with another episode of the Dunce's podcast.
What it
Whoa,
do, baby?
yes, Isandro is here as always. Dynamic duo in 2K and in the podcasting stations. 2K22 though, because apparently my man's here isn't gonna get 23, but that's for
Nah,
another
I
day.
hate basketball, man.
He's gonna get it. You're gonna get it, and you're gonna enjoy it because you're gonna see it's way better. They have a lot of good things in store for us. But today, guys, as you can see from my virtual background, that is not mine, by the way. It is on Google. I will be posting the link in the description so I don't get flagged. But it is there. We're going to be talking about the Brooklyn Nets. Why are we talking about Brooklyn when we literally just did a podcast on them a few weeks ago? Maybe was it last week? We did the when Kevin Durant decided to say that it was either him or Steve Nash and Sean Marks when he went up to Joe Tsai. Basically, that podcast means nothing anymore, so I should probably delete it because as of today, Shams and The Athletic have reported that Kevin Durant has rescinded his trade request. Isandro, the news broke. Again, Shams posted it. It was on Instagram where the Nets did a statement. I don't know if you saw it. Um, but there's a lot of stuff with this that we can discuss, right? So, instant reaction when you first heard it. What was going through your mind? Like what was
I
it?
mean, I knew it. I've been calling it. I'm like, why would, like, not even that. Oh, why would KD leave? Like, that's a part of it, but he did put in the trade request. But like, who was gonna fork up? Like, he wasn't going anywhere. His like the destinations that he picked, they weren't gonna, he wasn't gonna be able to go there. And
Right,
the only teams that would have like had the assets to trade for him weren't gonna trade for him. So it's like,
right.
where was he gonna go? And I think maybe he saw that. I don't know.
Well, let me read you the actual quote that came from the Brooklyn Nets Instagram page. If you haven't followed them, follow them now. Actually, if you haven't followed us on Instagram, the Dunces Podcast, shout us out. Yeah, we're also on Instagram. So this is what they said. The following statement has been released by General Manager Sean Marks. So this is all coming instantly from Sean Marks. Steve Nash and I, together with Joe Tsai and Clara Wu Tsai, Joe Tsai's wife, met with Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman, Rich, who is obviously KD's agent, in LA yesterday. We have agreed to move forward with our partnership. We are focusing on basketball with one collective goal in mind: build a lasting franchise to bring a championship to Brooklyn. It all sounds nice. It all feels nice. But let's be real. The situation is going to be really, really awkward, or at least from the outside looking in. How would you feel if you were Steve Nash in this whole situation? Yes, your name has been mentioned that you were also in that meeting where KD decided to rescind it, but there's also hearing reports, Stephen A is saying that Brooklyn is telling them, no, like you're not going anywhere. So this isn't even KD rescinding it. It's the Nets telling him that they're not doing anything for him, right? What do you think Steve Nash should feel about this? Because he got called out publicly and it's kind of humiliating the way that he was called out. What do you think?
I think he just has to keep doing what he's doing. Um, he can't really do
Be a bad
much
coach?
other than that. Like just kind of, there's nothing he can really do. Like just coach. Maybe try to prove that the doubters wrong. Um, like there's not much that Steve Nash could really do. But in terms of like what the Nets ended up doing for KD, it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because like he had 4 years on his contract, so I mean they're not gonna trade him for chips. If he was gonna
Yeah,
get traded, if he was gonna get traded, it would have been for something worth his pack, like
his
worth
value.
his value. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
fact that they couldn't find that, I mean, the Nets were kind of just like, we're not going to trade you for chips. You're just going to stay here. And I think KD, he's not a Ben Simmons kind of player. He's going to play out his contract. What is he going to do? Sit out for 4 seasons? He can't do
no,
that
that's wild.
after putting in that trade request,
Yeah,
right?
and then also the Rudy Gobert trade. We're always gonna go back to like, what if Rudy Gobert wasn't traded for the massive haul that the Jazz received, right? Let's say they only traded those players that they got and like one first round pick and two first round picks, and the Jazz decided to accept it because I feel like that would have been enough for a Rudy Gobert type player. Maybe an additional second round picks, but five first round picks was just a lot, right? Let's say that trade never happened. Do you think KD would have been on the move? A team would have given a little bit more assets and a similar package to what the Jazz got for Gobert in this an actual world, or what do you think? Like, do you think that that's really what messed them up?
I was frozen. I don't
Oh,
know what happened.
don't worry about it. So basically, my main point of the question is, if the Rudy Gobert trade didn't happen, do you think that we would have seen KD traded by the time that he requested the trade?
That's a weird question because let's say, well, he was definitely going to get traded, but let's say he wasn't traded to Minnesota. Would another team have given up what Minnesota did? I
Well,
don't
no,
think so.
that's yeah, that's my point. Like, no, that's let's be real. What Minnesota did was a mistake. They shouldn't have given away 5 first-round picks, and not just for Brooklyn or for Donovan Mitchell, but for Minnesota's sake, because it really might not work out. Like, yes, they have a good probability of making the playoffs and making some noise, whatever, but not as much as you would want, in the giving up so much for just one player, right? But now for the whole KD effect, because really after that, there was no way a team was going to be able to live up to the hype or live up to that package that Brooklyn wanted. Because like you mentioned before, it's 4 years left on his contract. He has yet to set foot on the NBA court with this contract that just kicked in. So do you think it would have been, maybe the Raptors would have been like, okay, fine, we'll give you Scotty Barnes and we'll give you these other rotational players, but we're not going to give up this guy, Pascal, or we might not give up Van Vliet. Like, do you think a trade like that would have happened if the Gobert trade did not go through?
It really depends. If the Raptors were sitting on Scotty Barnes, I think that would have been I think that was a mistake. But I think it really was that it was going to be Scotty Barnes plus a ton of other things, plus a ton of picks, and then
Right.
at that point, it's like we're not a team anymore. So how are we gonna trade all of our assets and not even contend with what we got? Um, I think what happened there was the theoretical trade that we talked about earlier. What was it? It was Scotty and like a couple other players that were really good, OG too, and like a ton of
Gary.
picks.
Yeah.
I think that Gary might have stayed in the scenario that we thought up of,
Yeah.
or either actually he might have gone, or maybe he would. I don't know. He would have
We
gone,
we
but
kind
then
of
they would have
added him
kept
towards the
Pascal.
end. We kind of added him towards the end. Yeah.
But they would have kept Pascal and Fred, right? But I'm thinking now that maybe that wasn't really an option. Maybe they would have wanted either Pascal or Fred, or maybe somehow both. I don't know how unrealistic
But
the requests were.
again, this is all after the Gobert trade. So my question to you is, if that Gobert trade did not go through, if they're not giving up all that amount of picks for Gobert, do you think that the Nets would have pulled the or another team would have pulled the trigger to trade with the Nets for Kevin Durant?
Yeah, so Toronto, yeah, like a team
Like
like Toronto
a team like
probably would have,
Toronto would
yeah.
have done it. Yeah.
So that Rudy Gobert trade kind of threw something threw a spanner in the works because
Yeah.
the packages that we talked about, not just about Toronto. I think that was before the Rudy Gobert trade, right? It
It
definitely was. And
literally,
then
I think we recorded it a day before the Gobert trade went down, and then we recorded the Gobert pod, and it was just like all the trades that we had really meant nothing because of again the massive haul that Gobert was
hmm
traded for.
it just it just ruined everything. It just ruined
Yeah,
everything. I don't know. Did we do a Minnesota pod? I can't remember. We haven't yet,
not
right?
yet, not yet, and we'll definitely get into
Exciting.
that one because
Yeah,
it's an
that's gonna be
exciting one
interesting. That's gonna
to
be.
think about. Yeah,
Oh, definitely, definitely.
yeah. But for the Nets side of things, right now they're in this pool. It's a roster that made moves still, even without with Kyrie and KD situation, right? They made moves. They traded their first round pick, this upcoming first round pick for Royce O'Neal. 3-and-D player would work great on any roster. So glad he's on this one though, because the Nets needed a defender and they needed a 3-point shooter alongside Ben Simmons. So great pick up there. They go out and they sign a former almost 20-point per game scorer. Of course, bubble also had an effect on that. But he has been out for 2 years. Played, I believe, an overall of 4 games in 2 seasons because of a foot injury. And T.J. Warren for the vet minimum he got. This is like a prove it type year, kind of like what Otto Porter got last year with Golden State. Um, so they made moves. They brought back Claxton. They brought back Mills. They definitely have a few more roster spots open. What do you think with this team? Do you think, now KD is back, Kyrie's back? Is this now a legit threat? And I love that I keep asking this question to most teams in the NBA, but this, specifically this team, is this a legit team in the Eastern Conference or in the
Legitimate
NBA as a whole?
contenders, yeah. We've said this before. Like,
Crazy.
I personally never understood. Like, I could kind of understand, but really I couldn't understand why KD wanted to leave because with the acquisitions that they are a legitimate contender. Like, they got a
Right.
perimeter defender. Royce O'Neal was probably the Jazz's best perimeter defender. That's not saying a lot, but he actually was pretty good.
No, he was
They
great.
got TJ Warren, who we're not saying he's going to be dropping 50 pieces like back in the bubble, but if he can, be somewhat
Solid
that
spark
kind of
off the
guy
bench. Yeah.
for that, like there's two ways it can go. It can either go Victor Oladipo, where it wasn't bad, but it's like you didn't really add to that team, or it can
Right.
be Otto Porter, like you said, where it was a prove it type deal. He came and he really contributed to a championship winning team.
Right.
And I think it could be I think it could lean towards the Otto Porter effect, or I'm kind of hoping it would be because
Yeah.
if all the pieces kind of mesh together and they're all motivated, in the last, I think this might be that they're all like their last year together.
First
Um,
and last. Crazy. But yeah.
you're right.
Uh,
And if Ben Simmons decides to actually want to play basketball, I think this could be like a top two, top three seed in the East. And barring any injuries, which is a legitimate thing with, the players that they have on their
Kyrie and
roster,
KD. Yeah.
yeah,
And Ben.
they could really like go for a conference finals run or even like a finals run.
I think, like you said, fully healthy. Their three main guys, because we didn't even mention Ben Simmons and Joe Harris. They're coming back from injury. Joe
I
Harris,
forgot about Joe,
one
yeah.
of the best 3-point shooters. Yes, playoffs he struggled, but in other seasons in the playoffs, he's actually been really helpful. So let's not give that one bad playoff performance. It was a lot of things that happened in that series against Milwaukee. But Joe Harris, again, sniper, almost 50% from the three. Like man's shooting like 45% around there for his career. He's great. Great 3-point shooter. And he's a solid defender, like I mentioned. And Ben Simmons literally does everything that you want in a basketball player except for shoot the basketball. He is literally a
Which
modern
his
version
teammates can do.
of, yeah, exactly. And he's literally a modern version of a Magic Johnson type player. I'm not saying he is Magic Johnson. I'm saying he
But
plays
that
a lot
mold,
like him. Yeah, like he's
hmm
big point guard, can see every area of the court
can
and
pass, can take it
can
to the rim.
pass and can defend. His defense is outstanding. Guard. He literally guards 1 through 5. It's insane to
Well,
watch
he
and
is
to see.
6'10", right? So I
And
would
he's
hope
six
so.
ten. And he's six
But
ten,
it's
strong.
surprising that he's 6'10" and he can defend like smaller guard. Well, I mean, I guess they have the
His
advantage, but
lateral his
still,
lateral quickness,
it's
it's
really good.
insane for his height. So the Nets got a gem in Ben Simmons, and I've always been excited with him. I even said it when KD and Kyrie was going through their whole thing. Like build through Ben. He's honestly the most important player on your roster because he's your young superstar. He's what 25, barely 25, I think. So yeah, they bring those guys back, but we got to go back to this whole Steve Nash thing. He's obviously not a good coach. Like let's keep it a bug. He's not a good NBA head coach,
He's
and
not
not
bad.
no, he's not good. He's not. And don't say he's not bad. He's a bad coach. He's a bad head
No,
coach.
he's all right. Look, let's clarify. He's not a bad coach,
Nah,
but
bro.
this is a
Sorry.
champ. But look, this is a championship contending team, so he's not good enough. You have to really like. He
That's
would be
yes.
good
Okay,
for like
you're right.
another team that's not really trying to contend, but for a team that has that they have
He's
contending aspirations,
he's a good high
he's
school
not at that
coach,
caliber.
and that's what I'm all for. Like
Not
I'm not
even
even
college.
no,
That is crazy.
because here's my thing with Nash and Nash as a player, one of the top 15 point guards of all time, hands down. He's the one back-to-back MVPs. He deserves a lot of credit for molding this era of play that we're in because of the Phoenix Suns, right? So Steve Nash definitely lovely dude too. You can see it in his interviews. He's just a nice guy. But when it comes to coaching, right? And coaching matters in the playoffs too. Yes, defense matters, mid-range shot matters in the playoffs. But one of the main and most important things in the playoffs is trusting your coach, being able to trust your
hmm
coach. You couldn't trust Steve Nash. These last few seasons with him at the helm, it's just been bad lineups that he's put around these guys. Not playing LaMarcus, not playing Blake more minutes against this Boston team really hurt them. Because again, and I'm gonna say this forever, really, they lost by a margin of 4 points per game in each and every one of those games. It's just a fact. So a total amount of points that they lost by was like 16 points. It's insane to think that yeah they got swept 4-0, and KD was playing horrible. So was Kyrie too, but KD was playing horrible, and they still only managed to lose by around 4 points. That's crazy, and a lot of it had to do with Steve Nash's coaching. He did
Hmm.
not put KD in his spots to be successful, and when he tried to, it was already too late, right? And you didn't bring in players that could have been a real difference maker. Bringing out five guys that can shoot, spacing is so important. But instead, you bring out Claxton, who I understand, rim runner and can do much. He can do a lot. But you have him and Bruce Brown, who was hitting his shots in the corner. But having certain players together just did not. It just did not fix. It did not work. And then you're putting in Kessler Edwards, a rookie, over guys that deserve minutes that proved it in the playoffs. Like that. That to me was just. It just wasn't right, and he's done that consistently. He played DeAndre Jordan a lot of minutes for when he was there, and then when obviously he went away and whatever. But my point is, he's not a good head coach. They need somebody else there. Who is that coach? Well, he's not out there right now. So really, like, what can you do? You can't really bring in Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson is more of a developmental guy, and he won't coincide with Kyrie. It's just not. It's not a good fit, right?
Hmm.
You had your guys on their bench. Ime Udoka was your guy. He should have been hired for this position. And if it wasn't Udoka, Ty
Mike
Lue was
D'Antoni.
always there. D'Antoni, yeah, I guess. But
I
Ty
mean,
Lue
we're
was
talking
there,
in comparison to
right?
Steve Nash, but yeah.
And so that's my grief with him. Like he needs to prove himself a little bit more, and it sucks because he has such a small window for error because if he messes
Small
up,
margin, right?
if they're even 500, bro, I don't see Steve Nash being a head coach for this team anymore. Either he leaves or they fire him. But I don't see him ending this season with Brooklyn, and I don't see him ever getting a head coaching job because of now he knows the amount of stress that he's going to be having with stuff like this. And yes, it'll be
Hot take.
completely different in other situations. But I don't think he's going to want to go through any of this again. He was happy in Golden State. Now he looks really unhappy. Um, but what do you think now from everything I just said, plus Sean Marks? How do you think Sean Marks should feel about all of this? Like he's a professional, we've seen it, but what do you think Sean Marks is plotting? In his
Sean is
mind.
chilling. We know he's definitely plotting something. Something's in the works. But you don't think like all right, so you don't think a championship contending team can win without a championship level coach? Does it always have to be a championship level coach to match the level of the championship? Because I feel like there's been championship winning teams
Mm-hmm.
that the coach is good, but he's not really anything special. Hasn't that ever happened before?
So, okay, so the best example I can give you probably right now is Rick Carlisle, right? I love Rick Carlisle. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the NBA. But that 2011 Mavericks team, let's be real. Jason Terry got hot. He shouldn't. It wasn't like it was just not that it was a fluke, but it was like you can't really stop that. The Jet gets hot. Deshaun Stevenson is playing insane defense. Sean Marion is getting hot, and Dirk was on a whole other level. Yeah, Rick Carlisle was good, but it was really the Mavs that won that together, right? Another coach you can say is Doc Rivers.
I was gonna say
Doc
the same thing.
Rivers had,
Hmm.
the big four, really, and shout out Perkins. But since then, it's been a pretty tough, couple of years for him. He had a really
Was it the
good team with
most
the
blown
Clippers
3-1
and all that
leads?
stuff. Yeah, it's insane. So no, I wouldn't say you need a championship level head coach. But you do need a head coach that your players respect. The Nets do not
Hmm.
respect Steve Nash,
Somebody who
right?
can command the locker room.
And it's not even it's being able to let your players know, hey, listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one to tell you guys what to do in this setting. So listen to me because I'm your coach, right? We saw it with Braun and Vogel, right? When they won the championship. Yeah, we all know it was Braun's team. Like Braun's the coach, right? But Vogel did have a lot to say with their defense. And he put out lineups there that really worked and really meshed. Obviously they had the personnel at the time, and now he was a scapegoat. Let's be real. I mean, him and
Hmm.
Westbrook just didn't clash. But my point is that Vogel was still a good head coach and was able to help that locker room, right? And then they had other assistants and Jason Kidd, who's this other guy, Phil Handy, right? Like they had good,
I know
solid
Hollins.
veterans on the bench, but that main guy is really important. Right now, the Nets don't even have that there. I mean, Jacques Vaughn, I guess you can kind of say, but the players don't respect him. Players don't respect anybody. No matter who they brought in, they weren't going to respect. So at the end of the day, too, it's like even I'm contradicting myself. Like no other coach would be good enough for these two guys because they don't want something like that. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I
Who
think
do they
I
have on
think
their assistant coach bench? The Nets.
that's the
I
thing.
think
Even
that's pretty important.
I don't even know it anymore, right? Like the most guys left. The main guys that I
That's
remember
crazy.
are gone.
Hmm.
Even this one guy, I believe he like one of our shooting coaches. I forget what he was. He was super important for us though. I think he went on to Utah to be an assistant with this other kid, whatever the young head coach's name. I forget his name. 34-year-old guy for Utah. He left us, right? And he was also a really important fit for our team when it came to shooting and to developmental. Cam Thomas, Kessler Edwards, a lot of these guys. Dayron Sharp. Um, so it's doesn't matter who's there. The important thing is Steve Nash is not the right guy for that team. And who
Mm.
is that right guy? Well, he's not. He's coaching now. He's in Ty Lue. Ty Lue would have been perfect for this team. And if it's not Ty Lue, it's Ime Udoka. Those two guys are the best guys for this roster. For those two guys when they're not there, right? So now the Nets dug themselves in a hole. Um, but let's look at their lineup that they got going on, right? So imagine a starting lineup of. Let me get the picture up here. We
Hmm.
have at point guard Kyrie Irving. At shooting guard, we have Joe Harris. At the three, you got Royce O'Neal. At the four, you got KD. And at the five, I guess you can say Ben Simmons. I mean, I don't know. The thing with this team is that you can go so many different ways. You can put Ben at the point, Kyrie, Royce, KD, and Claxton. But also, you don't really want Claxton and Ben Simmons to play together. So I think
That's
that
my
first
thing,
lineup
right?
is the. I think that first lineup is like the main guys, right?
Because
And
like
then
Ben, you want him guarding your perimeter guy, like the opposing team's best player, right? But he's also big enough to kind of guard the opposing team's big, as long as they're not like a superstar big, like a Jokic. So it's kind of like if you run five out with Ben, him being the only non-shooter on the team, like how is it gonna work? You know?
yeah, I agree. I think it'll be tough to have those guys there. So let's stick with our original one, right? So we got Kyrie, Joe, KD,
That's got to be the
Royce,
one.
and Ben. Let's say that's
Hmm.
your starting five, and I'll give you the bench in just a second. But just that starting five, what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, that's gotta be the only lineup I can really think. Just because if you put Ben with another non-shooter, it's really gonna. Then again, like you have Kyrie, you have Royce, who I mean Royce can kind of space, but then you have KD, Kyrie, and Joe Harris, three of the best shooters in the league. So maybe it won't be a problem if you have those three guys, Ben and like a Claxton, like you said.
Yeah,
But going five out with Ben as like your small ball big might be like their go-to crunch time lineup, I think. The
yeah,
only one like thing I was wondering, like I said before, was like who is he gonna guard? But that's probably a good problem to have because, like you said, he can guard one through five. So it's not a matter of who goes into
literally.
that lineup. It's just a matter of what do you do with that lineup. But that's a good lineup. That the one that you brought up.
And you also have Dayron Sharp. He might be able to start because he does shoot. So you never know. I mean, he does have to work on his game a lot. But now let's look at the bench, and these guys could always be plugged in and out. Again, I am obviously no insider, just a fan. Um, and I'm gonna give you guys my fan take later on. I mean, I've basically been doing that lately, but like I'm gonna get into it a little bit more right in a second. But off your bench, you got Patty Mills, Seth Curry, Cam Thomas, and you might want to start Seth over Joe. But let's just for our purposes, Patty Mills, Seth, um,
Patty
we got
Mills, Seth. Who else did you say? Patty Mills,
we
Seth.
got Seth. Hold on, I just see Kevin Reyes wanting to be admitted into the Zoom call, so we'll add him in just a second. But we got Cam Thomas, um, T.J. Warren, and Nick Claxton. I didn't mention Dayron Sharp. I didn't mention Kessler Edwards. I didn't even mention Edmund Sumner, another player that they got. What do you
Who?
think about Edmund Sumner? He's a solid two guard. He's pretty cool. Um, but what do you got with that bench? Again, Patty Mills, Seth Curry, Cam Thomas, T.J. Warren, and what's his face, Claxton. Is that a solid bench unit? Is that a
Ten
solid
man
five man?
rotation, baby.
It
10
really
deep.
is. That's
No,
yeah.
I'm completely kidding you. They're only going to be playing like seven of those guys.
Well,
I think
important minutes in the playoffs, but during the regular season, I
definitely.
think that's a solid
Oh yeah, of
solid 10 man.
course.
Yeah.
But who doesn't have a 10 man in the? Well, yeah, there are teams that don't have a 10 man in the regular season. But
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think you have to take into consideration our boy um, Kyrie, right? Like
Oh
Kyrie
yeah,
isn't going to be
Kyrie.
there all the time, so and
Yeah,
then you're going to
he's
want to rest a
guaranteed
lot of
not
these
to play the
guys,
Toronto games because they still have the mandate.
right?
So
The COVID mandate, which makes sense
hmm
if I'm
if
being
they play him in
honest.
the playoffs, oof.
Yeah. So as of right now, guys, we're going to take a little short break just so we can introduce one of our guys, and then we'll catch him up, and we'll see you in 3, 2, 1. All right. So shout out my editing. We are back with the podcast. And if you guys don't remember, for those who are OGs of the podcast, are like what 3 new subscribers that we got in the last 2 years. They wouldn't know who this guy is. This is our boy Kevin. He was original dunce. One of the main reasons why we started the podcast. How do you feel, my
Yes,
boy?
sir.
My boy is
Yo,
excited.
I'm feeling good.
Excited. Jesus. How's
Maybe one of the biggest dunces out here, but
is deep?
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
I was just so happy today. The great news.
Oh, to
joint
you it's
statement,
great news.
whatever it was. Oof.
Yeah.
You
Well,
see the duality of man, the two
You
Nets
know what? I
fans.
want to be relevant. Right now, I got this Nets jersey on. As soon as I came home, I got out of my work sweaty one, and then I put this on. It just felt good.
is
You
that the
know,
Kyrie one? Is that
this is the
the
Kyrie. I didn't
of
want to put the
course?
KD one on just yet.
Yeah.
But when the season starts, when I'm balling this summer, one more
Yeah.
time, we gotta wear the KD. Gotta run.
I got to get the Ben Simmons jersey because I can't shoot. But let's discuss.
I was gonna burn them, yeah.
Let's let's discuss. Basically, we just told Kevin what we were talking about before, but I want to get everybody's instant reactions again. So we talked to Isandra about it. We got his. I'll give you guys mine. My instant reaction to this news. For one thing, I was at work. I just saw it pop up on my phone. Uh, it didn't really do much as a Nets fan because I'm thinking about it as a Nets fan. It didn't really like move the needle to me. I was like, you know what? This means nothing because in a few weeks he can be like, hey, like I don't even want to be here anymore. Trade me. The Nets can start off really slow, 1-5. They can start 1-6 or whatever. They can even start 500, and it's like KD is pissed off. He's all right. Nah, I still want to get out of here, right? Like we don't know exactly how he's going to handle this because he's never actually been in a situation like this. So to me, it was just okay. This is how he feels today. This isn't a consistent thing. He's going to feel some type of way tomorrow. He's going to feel some type of way in a few months. So as of right now, all I'm happy about is that Ben Simmons at least has a team around him because that's why I'm excited. I'm excited for Ben. Um, but other than that, there's so many question marks. We kind of alluded to it before. The Steve Nash thing. Are they going to be? Is he going to be okay with this whole thing? Is Sean Marks going to be okay? Like there's just so many question marks that I had, and that this team has. But overall, I understand your point, Kev, which I'm going to let you get your point across now, the relevance part. Because we do have 2, maybe 3 of the top 20 players in the league. Like, that's insane. We have a big 3 in Brooklyn for the first time in years, maybe ever. So it's exciting. But let's get yours in, Kev. What was your instant reaction to this insane news that we got today?
So honestly, just a busy day. Slow start to the morning, but I feel like I read the news, like I saw it like maybe an hour after once it was released, even though I had a notification on my phone. But I was ecstatic. I started jumping. And just I'm at work, but I didn't want to make that much noise. I was like, yes, I couldn't contain it. And honestly, you know what it was? It was the joint statement that it was like, it was like Sean Marks saying he's like Steve Nash and I and Joe, you know. So everybody
Unity.
that was important, they all met with KD. And then I
Yeah.
read it real quick, and it was like build a lasting franchise. So that's what matters to me. I just want to be relevant. I don't want to be irrelevant. Do you get me? I
Right.
like the grit and grind era. We did the rebuild. We did the slow way. We waited a long, long time. I never saw a good Nets season until like more recently. So to me, I'm all in for this, KD. And I'm still for it, man. I still think KD, Kyrie, just a few inches away from a finals. And now I feel like good players will make it work, but we just have to really buy in. The only question mark is, still Steve Nash, but maybe another year, another offseason, he'll get better. But man, we're just gonna be relevant. Like with KD, That's just enough. And then I like some of the offseason moves. I feel like maybe we can make something else happen. But, as long as you have Kyrie, KD, you know, run it back. And I think the chemistry will only get better.
So y'all
And that,
both don't really like Steve Nash, huh?
no,
I just think he's so inexperienced. It's a very
yeah, I'm
hard
telling you,
situation.
bro.
It's not an
I'm
easy
telling
conference
you.
anymore.
Bro, I can literally
Yeah.
get my dad on this pod right now. He'd say the same thing. Like he's just not a good coach for us. Like I watch it every 82 games I'm on, bro. Like it's tough to see him coach. Like it's not a good viewing, like it's not fun.
They got that lead pass. Oof.
You get
But
so
you know what?
frustrated at 2K. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say though, you have to be positive. Like, something you just have to be so happy about. I said that last year. I said it last year, but and I remember before the Celtics swooped us, but shoot us, but my thing is, just going with the right attitude. Gonna go to a couple games, support them, of course,
Absolutely.
from the bleachers, from all the way from up
True
there. Hopefully
fans.
get hooked up with better seats. Brooklyn Nets sponsor the dances, please.
Please.
It doesn't have to be right now, but it can be at
Please.
any time.
I'm trying.
You'll get exclusive Nets content and
Yeah.
and true fans,
The official
But
podcast of the Brooklyn Nets.
it'd be dope. I'm just shouting that out there, Nets. Joe, Steve, we'll support you after that, Steve.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, definitely. If Steve hooks us up, bro, I'll get on TikTok just for Steve, dog. It's my boy. But like Kev mentioned, there's just a lot of question marks. And one thing that we could also talk about too, the Nets might be open to more trades, right? They have Joe Harris and his big contract. And I know Isandro and I alluded to it before about, he being a sniper, though in the playoffs it's a little whatever inconsistent, but he
We
is
got
one of
Steph
the
Curry for that.
exactly. Joe Harris still definitely has a lot of value because of his 3-point shooting. And he's still on a somewhat favorable contract, I guess you could say, with the amount of inflation. So do you think a trade, is going to happen? Maybe a Miles Turner. I know I always mention Miles Turner, Sandro, that's my guy, but do you think a trade for a player like that, like, do you think that they'll be able to get that? Or maybe signing a big man like Boogie or bringing in Dwight? Like, what do you think this team needs to bring in? Let me get Sandro's take on this one before I get yours.
A big man? Well,
or just something. Well, somebody that can help that team.
because that's the thing that I kind of want to get your takes on, because I genuinely don't know, and I've said this before in the same podcast. Like with Ben Simmons, the fit, like how is it going to work with another big man, especially considering he's a non-shooter, but he guards
Right.
your perimeter guys, right? Which is
Yeah.
still good. Obviously he'll guard the other team's best player, but you need a big too. But then you're gonna have two non-shooters, but then you have three of the best spacers in the league. I don't
Mhm.
know. You guys tell me.
Do you think? All right, let me give you a scenario right now.
Like, should they get
You
a big?
trade, yeah. Let's say they give up. They trade Joe Harris and Cam Thomas for Miles Turner. Are you doing that trade if you're Brooklyn?
Because they're giving up spacing. Like
What are you
we've
talking about?
seen it
Miles
happen
Turner can shoot.
before.
What you mean?
Doesn't he shoot like barely league average? We can't think he's a shooter. He's
Well,
definitely not a non-shooter though.
as
He's
a
He's
probably
big
the
gonna
best
man.
get better
option.
looks on the Nets, bro.
Yeah,
For a
for
big
Way
real.
better looks.
Yeah, for real.
But
Bro,
realistically, in the
Montrezl Harrell
playoffs,
will do
is
the
he
job
gonna
for us.
be? Is he gonna be on the perimeter shooting shots, bro?
He said Montrezl Harrell. I
Yo, have
totally
you
say
seen
about
him with the
Montrez?
bandana in the offseason?
Yeah,
He
he's different in the
cooking,
offseason. Looking like Hoodie Mello. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, bro. Like, if I'm the Nets, I'm calling up Indiana and I'm giving them that package. Like, I love Cam Thomas, but if I'm Indiana, I'm making that trade for Cam Thomas. Yeah, I'm taking on Joe Harris's big contract, but I'm pairing Tyrese and Cam together so they can ball out, right? Like, imagine that team, and then the Nets get Miles Turner in return, solid spacer,
But
a
wouldn't
player that
Indiana
can play defense.
want to keep Miles Turner? So wouldn't you have to give up more?
What do you
And
mean?
I
Why
think
would you want
Tyrese and Miles Turner is a good duo, to be
to?
honest.
Yeah,
Miles Turner is
wait,
like
you
26.
think we're gonna
27.
no way we get Tyrese back in that trade.
No. I'm
No, we're
saying you
saying
pair.
combining.
Yeah, you pair
Yeah,
Tyrese
and you get Cam
and Cam
Thomas.
in the on the Pacers. Like
Uh,
the yeah, I
Hmm.
would do that trade if I'm the Nets.
If
Yeah,
you're the Nets,
it would
obviously
suck.
if you're the Nets, you do that trade. But if
What
you're
do you mean, Cam
Indiana, do you go
Thomas?
for that?
Yeah, absolutely. For Cam Thomas, Cam
No,
Thomas is nice, bro.
nah. And picks, maybe,
Well,
right?
yeah, maybe like maybe like a 2 second
two is
pick,
more.
Like a
some
first.
maybe yeah, like whatever, something stupid like that. But I would do it. But what about you, Kev? Like, do you think the Nets should make like another move, like this? Because I'll just give you like a quick overview. They got T.J. Warren for the vet minimum, and they traded for Royce O'Neal, right? So
Okay, TJ Warren, I forgot about. I knew Royce.
yeah, and then they
Nah,
got
bro.
Claxton and Patty Mills. They re-signed them.
Yeah, we can definitely trade. We can definitely. I'm sorry. I love Cam. He had his moment versus the Knicks. Like he carried us for a few games, but we can give up Cam for Miles Turner. I would do
Go
that.
play
And
like
if we
Miles,
if
yeah.
we don't, yeah, I would do it. But at the same time, if I'm Indiana, honestly, I don't take Cam Thomas. That's not enough for me. I think Joe Harris, regardless, and to start the season, we need to play him as much as we can, get him as many shots as he can, and like build up his trade value again, so that the league is reminded he was like the best 3-point shooter percentage wise for
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 years in a row. But I don't know. I feel like Miles Turner, we might have to give up too much. That's my thing. Are there other options? I do believe so. But we would have to scout and stuff. But I think someone honestly, I don't think we need a big. Because we gave
Mm,
up, we lost DeAndre Drummond, but I think Ben Simmons offers a lot of rebounding. KD can rebound. Not like crazy, but he can rebound. He's
yeah.
still a tall guy. But I think what can do the job for us is someone like our boy Jeff Green. Well, Uncle Jeff.
Yeah.
Bro,
We're
like
missing
he
Uncle
was the
Jeff.
perfect role player for what we needed, and he
Yeah.
stretched the floor so well. And that's
And
an example. I was gonna tell you, Johnny, Isandro. Dang, flashbacks.
That's racist.
Isandro, like, bro, Jeff Green with 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 the Nets when that first season he was with us, bro. Yo,
yo, Jeff
that
Green
man's
was cooking, y'all.
the best
Jeff Green
in
was
his
nice.
in his
Uncle
career.
Jeff.
Because what? Because he was playing with such great playmakers and Harden.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he played with Harden. Sorry, but I with KD and Kyrie. Like
He
he
did
was
play with
so
Harden,
good
right?
for us.
A
He
little
did play with
bit.
Harden. Okay,
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
so he was getting these open looks, and that's why Denver he earned that contract. I think that's the best contract he's ever gotten. You know what? Well deserved, Uncle Jeff. We should have gave you that contract. But you know what? I think we bring him back. You know what? Even honestly, maybe they bring back Blake Griffin. Finds his rhythm because Blake Griffin was a little underrated defensively for us as well. I don't think he's enough for us. Paul Millsap
Yeah.
definitely wasn't it. You should
He was trash. He was
sorry.
garbage.
Respectfully, you're done.
He should retire.
My boy. But Blake Griffin, I think he's a good fallback option. But I do think someone like Jeff Green, Daddy is young.
Oh, Thaddeus would be perfect for us.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
OGs, let's go the
I
OGs,
think
baby.
they have the assets to go get a Thaddeus, though. To be honest, I think. Right?
Word.
Yeah.
And Andre Black,
They wanted
I feel like Andre Black.
Yo, I was thinking Andre Blatch literally was
Yeah.
on my mind, bro. 2014 Nets, bro. Andre Blatch was nice. Shout out Gilbert Arenas. Yeah, that was
bench,
that was
baby. Let's go.
Yeah. No, there's a lot the Nets can do, obviously. And I feel like they should, because again, it goes back to the big three, obviously, most important thing. But as so many players have said in the past, it's the other guys that win you championships, right? It's the rotational pieces, it's the players that you put around the most important guys on your team. Ben Simmons needs shooting. KD needs a good
didn't we
playmaker
resign
stuff.
Patty Mills? Hold on.
Yeah, they re-signed Patty
Didn't we
Mills.
resign-
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get rid of Cam Thomas. But you see, Jay, you're mentioning things, but I feel like we're okay on that. We have enough shooting. We're
No,
blessed with shooting.
I'm saying, but I'm saying you can get better. Like you can get better now. Like you can get better. You can get better with so many stuff that like so many trades that they can make. Because I'm talking, yeah, the shooting is going to be fine, but defensively too. Like, yeah, you have Claxton. He's not Jared Allen. Let's be real. He'll never be Jared Allen. Ben Simmons is your best defender, right? But then you got who? Royce O'Neal, solid defender. But then where else? I mean, KD, somewhat. But that's it. And but defense wins championship. So if you bring a player like Miles Turner, right? Solid 3-point shooter. Yeah, it might be a little bit below league average, might be slightly above league average. Doesn't matter. On this team, we'll get open shots, right?
Yeah.
Not only is he a solid 3-point shooter or a solid mid-range shooter, his impact defensively in the paint, no one can get by him, right? And he's a solid mover when it comes for Miles Turner. Like I'm saying, a player they can trade like that, or even if the Bucks are stupid enough to do this, if the Bucks are stupid enough to trade Brook Lopez, right, and give us Joe Harris, Joe Harris type, he's also another player that would be solid, and I would love to bring him back.
And if we want to chip with Brook, that would be perfect.
Carry
Man,
on top.
I'm all in for Brook Lopez.
Yeah, we bring in Jeremy Lin too.
1.5 blocks, those 3 rebounds, but give me that 40% clip.
We bring Jeremy Lin to get the Brooklyn connection again. That was fire. Like the little things they got. But there's definitely so many options that they can go for. But like kind of bringing everything to not to an end, but like kind of everything together. The Nets this season, are they? And I asked Isandro this, and he was obviously a yes to him. But Kev, what do you think? Is this team a legit contender? And what's their ceiling? Is it Eastern Conference Finals? Is it Finals? Like, and I'm talking to you as a fan, as a Nets fan. I'm not
Yeah.
talking to you as an overall. I'm talking as a Nets fan. What are your aspirations for this team, barring
All
any
right.
injuries?
It's always championship or fail. But realistically, I think we need to make a move for a big. We need to make a move for a big. That's a need. Not a want, that's a need. So if we don't do that, we're not gonna have much chance. But hey, without that, I see our ceiling being the finals, being maybe semifinals. It depends. The Celtics are looking way better this year.
Yeah, sounds like that.
And if they wipe the floor with us like that last time, I think Grant Williams not gonna shoot like that anymore. But Robert Williams is the thing to me. So we need someone for that. Giannis, obviously. Even the Raptors coming in. And then even it's just so important. And even the picks that the big set for Kyrie is so important for KD as well. Just to get easier looks, and even for the shooters, the pin downs, the off screens, the off balls. But if we make that trade easily, Chip, we have to be in the finals if we make a trade for one of these significant big men that just plays his role.
Yeah.
We need.
Yeah, I agree. I think you got to look at it too from the East perspective. East have Joel Embiid, big man. Giannis Antetokounmpo,
Yeah, we
big
need to
man.
guard that.
Boston has 6'8" player in Jason Tatum, and then Robert Williams in the back, right? Like and then Miami with Bam Adebayo. The Nets have Ben Simmons, but there's a lot of question marks with Ben Simmons, right? His mentality, and I'm all for Ben Simmons. I think he's going to be fine, but there's a lot of these questions, right? So, with that being said, Isandro, what do you think? Do you agree with Kev? Do you think that another move like that would just be like the cherry on top, would just get them like, all right, this is it. They're
Yeah,
getting over that hump. What do you think?
they need a big. Yeah, like Kev said. My only thing is who are they gonna get? Like I guess Miles Turner, like you
He's
said,
the most realistic, if I'm being honest.
probably
I guess you
has
can
to be
say.
because like whoever they get isn't gonna be able to guard Giannis, Embiid, Jokic in the West for
Agree.
those regular season games. But they
Yeah.
do need something because Claxton is gonna get eaten alive, and he has been. Like we've seen it before. So I guess Miles Turner has to be your guy. Maybe a dark horse, pick. Maybe like a Precious Achua who second half of the season
Yeah,
really
Tough.
that's a
balled
good
out,
trade
Yeah.
target.
shot 40%, like close to
Yeah,
40%
yeah,
as a
he's
big,
cooking. He's
which is
cooking.
insane. So imagine getting him and he develops and he can
Yeah.
shoot and he can kind of.
Yeah,
That
we
would
need
be
that.
insane. So
What's
those,
the other
yeah,
guy on the Raptors?
Boucher.
No.
Boucher. Well, I would say Boucher is a good one too.
Oh,
Who are you
Boucher.
thinking of?
Yes, Boucher.
Yeah,
Boucher.
Boucher, the
Sorry.
6'9" guy. Yeah.
Yo, yeah, okay. So I want Boucher or this
Or
other guy,
Brooke.
Chua. But you know what I was gonna say?
Or
Brooke,
Brooke,
yeah,
yeah.
Brooke would be a nice story. But those are probably the better options. But you know what I will say? Ben Simmons is 6'10". He used to
Yeah,
bullet
that's what
people
I
in the
said.
paint. So, but the only thing is, Isandra brought up valid points. Jokic is gonna destroy him, and Giannis. We've seen Giannis destroy Ben Simmons in the paint as
Hmm.
well. So that is important. But I do think maybe they try a Ben Simmons in a LeBron James Heat versus the Spurs way. Do you remember that finals where
Yeah, yeah.
they used him as a center, but at the same time, LeBron always had the ball in his hands as well, him and D Wade. So I
I
would love to
remember
see that.
too.
I want
Yeah,
Ben and Kyrie to be our primary ball handlers, no one else.
yeah. Obviously,
Um,
it's not even a question.
but I would love to see Ben in that role because like a lot of his comparisons coming into the league and the way he played, was a lot LeBron James ski, but it was just no shooting at all. But if he could fill that role, honestly, he does play good defense. He plays really good defense, Ben.
Amazing
So
defense.
if he
Yeah.
could do that, like it brings back memories, like when LeBron would go up against Thiago Splitter and Boris Diaw in the paint and Tim.
Shout out Tiago.
Sometimes you get in, but sometimes you just send that back. Like I feel like Ben
Yeah.
could get up there and do it. It's just a matter of effort, and I think that's a big thing. How much we're gonna get out of Ben. So there's a
His
lot of question
mentality,
marks.
his mentality is a huge question mark, and it's really on him because of everything that went down with Atlanta, right?
I
Like
think he's
that's
gonna be locked in,
you know.
to be honest, just because of
I think
that.
so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think he feels like he has a lot to prove, and I mean, frankly, he does. But it's important
Yeah.
for him to have that mentality because if not, he's gonna get eaten alive. And yeah, Brooklyn isn't like Philly, as in like crazy fans like that. But it is super important to just for his legacy, really, because yeah, he might not have a big legacy, but it's still important. You want to be known as a really good NBA player in your time in the NBA, right? Um, But with all that being said, let's give them a grade. Our grade. Kev, let's start with you on this one because Isandro and I usually do this. So usually towards the end of the podcast, we give the Nets overall offseason a grade. And this is everything
Okay.
that's happened. We're talking the trade request, the Kyrie situation, everything. What offseason grade do you give this team? And why?
Truthfully, I give it a C plus
Wow.
because you know why I chose this hat to wear? Obviously, my hair was a mess, but emergency pod, right? You know, you have to come in. But yo, we're done playing games. We played games for too long this offseason.
Wow.
We should have, you know what? If the reality, you know what? We needed to fire Steve Nash earlier and go through the offseason with a new coach already picked out this and that. You know, we didn't keep playing games. Then Kyrie in the KD situation. All right, games. What are we doing? And then KD gave that ultimatum. You know what? Thank God he gave that ultimatum because then it finally made them react and like, you know what, stand firm. So they really made up for it. I think they had a good, off season, really good off season. The trades we made, the free agency additions we made. You know, maybe we didn't get everything we wanted. Obviously, that's very hard, but we did solid, very solid, and we made up for it. So I give us a C plus because you know we're entering the real season like with good momentum, and we need that. And again, the way that Cole ended, a long-lasting, like competitive franchise, which is what we all want at the end of the day, and we all need. So we're done playing games. Disney, Mickey, we're done.
That's
We're
right.
coming.
Jay, is this pod going on
Enough talking. We
any
just
of
have to be about it.
Spotify's? Is
Ben,
this one
YouTube,
also
we
going, or
need
is it
to
just
stop playing
YouTube?
games.
Yeah, no, it's all over YouTube, all podcasting
Okay,
platforms,
so
which I
for
will
the
mention
people
towards the end.
Nets,
listening in, he
sponsor us. We're
literally
motivating you right now.
he
You
had
saw
a
that
hat with
Kobe
Mickey
video
Mouse on it.
resurface for Ben Simmons? Like, that should be enough motivation. Like, you're going to regret it if you don't get a jump shot. Like, I hope he took that to heart. And then
Yeah.
the video right after, like a few hours later, KD and Kyrie are already working out. They've been doing this. They're ready. We're ready.
Yeah.
Enough
We're
talking.
gonna win it.
Sounds just like a Nets
Win.
fan. I love it.
Come on, love it.
What about you,
Okay.
Jason? Your turn.
Yeah, my rant officially. Now I'm gonna say everything that I feel. So again, like it's I'm more of like the rational Nets fan. I think about it from business side of things, and this is because I'm a business major. But business wise, this was a great move for them because the Nets got so much publicity. They got it all. They're gonna make so much better with it. You know, shout out Brooklyn, right? But now I'm gonna look at it from a real Nets fan's perspective. So many points were made, with Kev and you, Sandro. Like Nets fans should be rejoicing, right? Because they got KD. KD box office, obviously Kyrie, everything. The names that we'll be having on the back of our jerseys is just beautiful, right? But then you go and you think, all right, these names have also given us a lot of headaches over this past season, these past couple of seasons, Kyrie especially, and then Kyrie is also on the last year of his contract. How much is he going to do? Like these are other question marks you have to take into consideration. How much will Ben want it? How much will Steve Nash be able to get this team together? So my offseason grade for this team, I'm giving it a D. I think that they should have definitely the Steve Nash thing. He had to go. Once they got swept, he was the first person that needed to be gone. They needed to figure out the whole Kyrie situation way before. And the main reason why I'm giving them a D is because these last off seasons too, they gave the players too much power. That's not how the NBA works. The NBA is a team. When you're a part of an organization, no matter if you're wearing a jersey or not, you're supposed to be a part of a team, and they weren't. They weren't that. That's why I give the organization, the moves that they made, a D. The Kevin Durant situation definitely helps because he's back, right? But you can't really expect too much. There's too much uncertainty until they lace up. They have those jerseys on and they're out there on the court. Then we'll see what happens. But this offseason is a D for me. But Isandro, that's my little mini rant.
Y'all really gave him a C plus and a D. That is great. Do you
Yeah.
know what off season means? You graded like the whole organization. That's not what
That's
I
how
mean,
that's how I gotta
What
do
do
it.
you give them?
legitimate points though. You're right.
No,
Jalen's really wrong.
I do get what Isandro's saying though. Like the other moves they made, like Royce O'Neal, A plus. That was a great deal. Like in hindsight, it's a great deal because they traded a first round pick that's not going to mean anything this upcoming season. Come on, and they're getting Royce O'Neal, solid 3D, and then CJ Warren, vet minimum, great move. But other than that, it's
Patty
like
Mills back.
like yeah, Patty Mills giving him a solid contract. Same with Claxton. favorable contracts, tradable contracts, right? But again,
Mhm.
I'm not looking at it from that perspective. I'm looking at the guys, so important guys that they just gave so much power to, and then abruptly took it away. It was just a bad look on the Nets, and that's why I give them a D. But Isandro, go ahead and let me know what you
Well,
think.
you
The
you brought
sane
my
fan.
score down. It was gonna be a B plus.
Wow.
I'm gonna bring it to a B because
Okay.
I'm not looking at the organization. The organization, they like we've talked about like at length about how badly things have gotten because of the organization. We've talked about how bad the coaching situation is.
Yeah.
But I am grading this team purely on the acquisitions and the ins and outs. The ins is the acquisitions, and the outs is who left, right? They kept KD, they kept Kyrie. That's your championship level guys. Those are the guys who are going to bring your team a championship. They got something that I've been saying for a minute. They needed a wing, a defensive wing, and they
O'Neal.
literally got that. They got that. They got TJ Warren, who I think he's going to be bucket. I don't think he's going to be 50-point bubble Warren, but I think he's still going to be that kind of like something similar. So with who they got and who they kept, this is a fantastic offseason. The only thing that would make it even better is, like Kev said, if they got a big, which the offseason still isn't over yet, but I don't know. Things are kind of slowing down. I
Time.
don't know if they'll be able to get one. But if they do get a big, my grade goes up to like an A. Maybe an A minus, it depends. Because then that's the complete team. And the only question marks, which are admittedly big question marks, would be on the coaching staff, not the roster.
Well, then no, that's not true. The roster too. Health issues, Kyrie.
Besides
How many
health,
games is he gonna
there's
play?
always that asterisk.
No, because Kyrie isn't really health. It's just mental. Like he just doesn't want to play.
Well, mental health is big too. Ben Simmons.
Okay, well,
right?
that's a whole other situation that we don't even want to get into right now, you baboon. But
Shut up and
overall,
dribble.
but overall, Kev, thank you for being a special guest. Random. I know I texted you guys
Yeah.
randomly, like
Thank
it
you for
was,
having me, man.
yeah, man, it was dope.
I
It was
sent him the
nice.
details.
Yeah, it was nice having you back on with us. It was kind of like a reminiscing of the past when we were all skinny. Now, pandemic us. But with that being said, thank you guys all for joining. Kev, do you have any nice words? Do you want to do the outro for us? Actually, I don't know if you remember it. Do you remember the outro? Go ahead. give us your outro. Give us your outro.
This has been the Dunces. Tune in again. You never know which dunce might appear. If it's not me, it'll be someone for sure. But it's always a good time. Nets, again, I'm not begging because we don't need you, but we would like you to sponsor us and make this official. We'll be here. We'll support you full season. Even Isandro will come to the games if you sponsor us. All right. And so we'll be here. We expect the best. The Nets, I declare now the 2023 NBA champions.
Hey,
just know that.
Hot take. All right.
I'm gonna stick with my my Nuggets.
And I'm gonna stick with my my Charlotte.
Dallas.
Oh,
okay.
Right. But thank you for that outro, Kev. The last thing we will say is we are on all social media and podcasting platforms, so please shout us out. And don't forget, this is the Jordan one. I don't know if you remember this one, Kev. Please like, subscribe, and hit the like button down below. We are always here ready for you guys. And peace.